Dean Martin had everything a man could want: fame, money, millions of fans. But behind that cool grin and the whiskey glass he held on stage, his world was falling apart in silence. Please subscribe. It means a lot to me and costs you nothing. The king of cool looked untouchable, yet his heart was heavy, and the pain he carried never showed under the spotlight. His final years were nothing like the glory days. Dean became a shadow of the legend people adored, worn down by grief and memories he couldn't escape. And standing quietly in the background was the woman who once loved him deeper than anyone, Jean Martin. Even after their divorce, she never stopped watching over him because she knew what fame had taken from him: the loneliness, the regrets, and the one loss that broke him for good. Their story started with glamour and ended in heartbreak, a mix of loyalty, love, and the kind of sorrow Hollywood could never fake. It's the real final chapter of Dean Martin and the woman who saw him fade long before he took his last breath. But Dean's story didn't begin on a movie set or in a mansion. It started on the tough gray streets of Steubenville, Ohio, a steel town by the river where survival taught you more than school ever could. He was born Dino Paul Crocetti in 1917, the son of Italian immigrants chasing their shot at the American dream. His father, Gaetano, ran a small barber shop, while his mother, Angela, filled their home with singing and warmth even when money was tight. Their house was loud with music and family, but Dino barely understood English. When he started school, he couldn't follow a word, and kids mocked his accent non-stop. They teased him, mimicked him, and pushed him toward the one thing he never forgot: feeling alone. By 10th grade, he walked out for good, convinced real lessons waited outside those walls. And the streets didn't go easy on him. He hustled every job he could: steel mill worker, gas station attendant, milkman, even running bootleg liquor during Prohibition. He fought as a boxer under the name Kid Crochet, stepping into the ring with heart, but taking hits that left scars on his face and hands. He liked to joke, "I won all but 11, masking bruises with humor because laughter was easier than truth." Years later, when Dean finally made it big, comedian Lou Costello paid to fix his broken nose, a small favor that helped shape the smooth image the world fell in love with. In those early years, Dino shared a cramped New York apartment with his buddy Sonny King. They were broke but clever enough to survive. When money dried up, they held bare-knuckle fights right in their living room, charging $5 a ticket. A good night brought in $50, just enough for rent. On bad nights, they faked phone calls and waited for diners to leave so they could sneak a few bites from abandoned plates. During these rough years, Dino's real charm started to shine. Working as a crew member in an illegal casino behind a tobacco shop, he sang softly between games to entertain gamblers. One night, bandleader Ernie McKay heard him and offered him a job. Dino said yes, and everything changed. Performing as Dino Martini, inspired by tenor Nino Martini, he toured Ohio and Pennsylvania. By 1940, he joined Sammy Watkins, who gave him the advice that shaped his future. "You've got the voice, kid, but if you want to go places, drop the I. Make it Dean Martin." That small tweak created a name the world would never forget. But behind that new name waited both glory and heartbreak. By the early 1940s, Dean's life finally started rising. He had talent, charm, and drive, but not stability. That came in 1941 when he met Elizabeth Betty McDonald, a warm, loyal woman who loved him long before fame found him. They married that same year, fighting through nights of tiny club shows, unpaid gigs, and endless uncertainty. Betty became his foundation, while Dean sang in smoky lounges. She stayed home raising their 4 children: Craig in 1941, Claudia in 1944, Gail in 1945, and Dina in 1948. On stage, Dean looked effortless, but off stage, he was just a young dad trying to survive. As fame climbed, their marriage cracked. Betty battled alcoholism, disappearing for days at a time, while Dean moved through a world of flashing lights, parties, and constant temptation. Women, whispers, and rumors followed him everywhere, though the papers rarely printed anything because his image sold too well. The smooth gentleman with the drink and the quick joke kept the gossip quiet, but at home, the damage was real. By 1949, the marriage was finished. Dean filed for divorce and, unusually for the era, was granted full custody of all 4 children. Betty slipped away to San Francisco, choosing a quiet life far from the fame that soon swallowed her former husband. She lived in near silence until her passing in 1989, still tied to Dean's name even decades after their split. Just 1 week after the divorce was finalized, Dean married again, this time to model and former Orange Bowl queen Jean Beager. Their September 1, 1949 wedding was a full Hollywood event, complete with Jerry Lewis as best man. Jean brought grace, calm, and loyalty into Dean's chaotic world, and for a while, it looked like he had finally found steady ground. She stood beside him through every major milestone: his hit movies with Jerry, his solo rise, and his legendary entry into the Rat Pack. Together, they welcomed 3 children: Dean Paul in 1951, Richie in 1953, and Gina in 1956. Under one roof, Jean raised all 7 of Dean's children, hers and Betty's, holding the family together while cameras captured a picture-perfect household. But fame never builds stable homes. As Dean's career exploded, he spent more nights away, diving into parties, long work schedules, and affairs that cut Jean deeper each time. She forgave him again and again, but by the late 1960s, even her strength cracked. In 1973, after 24 years together, they divorced. Dean later remarried, but everyone close to him insisted Jean was the love he never recovered from losing. When Dean ended his decade-long partnership with Jerry Lewis in 1956, people said he'd ended his own career. Critics dismissed him as the straight man who couldn't survive without Jerry. But Dean flipped the script. Within 2 years, he reinvented himself completely, no longer a sidekick, but one of America's smoothest, most magnetic entertainers. His powerful comeback started in Las Vegas, where he linked up with Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford. Together, they became the Rat Pack, a crew of sharp-talking, heavy-living stars who treated the Las Vegas Strip like their personal stage. Night after night, they sold out shows at the Sands Hotel, thrilling crowds with loose banter, wild energy, and effortless charm. To fans, the Rat Pack looked like pure class and swagger, and Dean seemed like the wildest of them all. Cigarette in one hand, whiskey glass in the other, tie loose, grin crooked. He looked like trouble wrapped in charm. But most of that image was a straight-up performance. His whiskey was usually just apple juice, and the slurred jokes were part of an act so smooth even Sinatra admitted Dean fooled everyone. He was the only one sober. That act made him a legend, but it also built a wall between the real man and the myth. People stopped seeing Dean as human. They saw the king of cool, even when he felt anything but. Behind the scenes, Dean was soft-spoken, private, and often lonely. While Sinatra stayed out gambling and partying, Dean preferred going home, watching TV, and falling asleep alone. Still, his talent was undeniable. Films like Rio Bravo and The Young Lions shut down every critic who doubted him, showing a depth and vulnerability nobody expected. Hollywood tried to box him in as a lounge act, but Dean shattered that box with style. Then came The Dean Martin Show in 1965, where he flipped the industry on its head. NBC wanted his charm on TV, and Dean demanded no rehearsals, one filming day a week, and full ownership after the first broadcast. Shockingly, NBC said yes, and the show became a monster hit, 264 episodes and over 40 million viewers a week. His casual, "I didn't prep at all" vibe became the magic people loved. But with rising fame came a deeper emptiness. The laughter, the applause, the glamorous circle, it was all real but temporary. Dean once joked, "If you have luck, you don't have to be smart." But even he knew luck doesn't last forever. Everything changed on March 21st, 1987, the day Dean's world collapsed. His son, Dean Paul Martin, a 35-year-old actor, musician, and Air National Guard pilot, died when his F-4C Phantom jet crashed into a California mountain during a snowstorm. Dean Paul was his pride, the golden boy, and they shared a bond that words never fully captured. Dean had survived divorce, fame, and scandal, but nothing prepared him for losing his son. The search for the wreckage lasted 6 long days, and when it ended, something inside Dean broke for good. Friends said he was never the same. He stopped smiling, stopped performing, and stopped caring. Rich Little put it simply, once Dean lost his son, that was the end of him. At the time of the crash, Dean was gearing up for a tour with Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. called The Ultimate Event, a huge Rat Pack reunion. But after Dean Paul's death, he couldn't carry the weight. He showed up for a few early shows, quiet, distant, shattered, then quit mid-tour. Sinatra tried to push him back on stage, but Dean wouldn't budge. Jean, his ex-wife, rushed to him immediately. Even after 10 years divorced, she was the only one who could reach him. She stayed close, checking in, often sitting in the same restaurant where he ate alone every night. She never hovered. She just watched over him, steady and loyal, as he slipped deeper into grief. That year marked the end of Dean's spirit. The world still saw the charming star who sang "Everybody Loves Somebody," but those close to him saw a man consumed by heartbreak. His line, "I'm just waiting to die," wasn't a joke. It was the truth. After 1987, Dean faded from public life. He rarely performed or socialized, spending most nights alone in Beverly Hills restaurants, while Jean quietly sat nearby, still guarding him from a distance. By 1993, his health collapsed. Decades of smoking caught up, and doctors diagnosed him with lung cancer. They begged him to undergo surgery, but he refused. "No," he told friends, "I've had a good life." The exhaustion in those words said everything. He spent his last months surrounded by old photos, TV reruns, and memories of the son he could never stop mourning. The man who once lit up nightclubs with jokes and swagger now spent his days in near darkness, quietly waiting for the end. On Christmas Day, December 25, 1995, Dean Martin died at 78 from acute respiratory failure brought on by emphysema. Hollywood froze. Frank Sinatra, devastated, called him a brother, not by blood, but by choice. 3 days later, Las Vegas honored him the only way the city knew how, by dimming the Strip for 10 silent minutes. The Sands, Flamingo, Stardust, all went dark, a tribute reserved for legends. Dean was laid to rest at Westwood Village Memorial Park, his crypt engraved with the line, "The world will always link to him. Everybody loves somebody sometime." Jean never remarried. After losing Dean, she lived quietly, surrounded by photos of their life and their children. When she passed from cancer in 2016 at 89, she was buried not far from him. Their son, Richie, who spent his life honoring Dean's music, died just weeks before she did, closing another chapter in their painful family story. The Martins gave the world music, laughter, and a legacy that still shines, but behind that glow was a lifetime of heartbreak. Dean spent his final years not in the spotlight, but in silence, watched over by the one woman who never stopped loving him. Jean saw him fade piece by piece, powerless to stop the decline that began the day their son died. In the end, she followed him, ending a love story born in bright lights and finished in shadows. Their names glitter through Hollywood history, but their real story is one of loyalty, sorrow, and love that fame could never cover up. Did Dean Martin find peace before he passed, or did his memories haunt him until the end? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Goldenscape channel for more untold Hollywood stories.